Well, nature is always teaching us these very important lessons. In 2016, Osumi got the Nobel Prize for his work on autophagy, and basically autophagy is how our body responds to starvation. And Dr. Lodi, how important is cleansing and fasting, and what lessons can we learn from nature about fasting and cleansing?
Okay. Well, let's talk about cleansing. So if you understand that you've got anywhere from 60 to 100 trillion cells in your body, I don't think anyone's ever counted them, but estimates.
I'll start now. 1,
Right.
2.
Okay. All right. So I'll have my great-grandchildren find out.
Good mindfulness exercise.
So, and if you understand that, so if we look at them as fish, and they're in an aquarium, and that aquarium is in a fluid called the interstitial fluid. And that interstitial fluid is what bathes the cells. All right. So the cells aren't bathed in blood. The blood goes there. The capillaries go over the cells, over the tissues, and things go back and forth through osmosis. And so you've got this fluid that kind of looks like the color of, if you were to look at maybe the color of a clean urine, like a light yellow, like that. So in this fluid is everything, all the oxygen, carbon dioxide, metabolic waste, everything like that. So in this fluid, hormones, etc., is what the cells in our body are living and responding to. So what happens as we age and living in artificial worlds, we wind up eating too much, too frequently. Okay, and what we're eating is not really food anymore.
What is it?
It's near food. It was food at one point, right? But that's why we have to have packages with the ingredients, because we have to list the ingredients, because it's not obvious. If I handed you a banana, you wouldn't need a label.
Well, wait a second. I need to double check. Is it okay? Yeah.
Yeah, banana, right? But I hand you a package of chips. You got to read you don't know what it is. You got to read it and you say, oh my God. But anyway, so all of this stuff going in. Plus, we don't go to the bathroom. We don't have bowel movements as frequently. We're not drinking enough water. We don't urinate as frequently. We're not moving around as frequently. And so what happens is that we're stressed all the time. So what happens is we have an accumulation of toxins, and as these toxins accumulate in different organs, they cause dysfunction of those organs. And then our body's adaptation to that accumulated toxin is what we call disease. But it's not disease. It's our body adapting and trying to maintain its function in spite of the fact that its biological requirements are not being met. So that's what we call disease. So the first step in health and healing is to clean out that aquarium. So one of the easiest ways to do it while you're still working is get a juicer and do some fresh juicing, fresh vegetable juice, not fruit juice. You can add a little fruit for flavor, but it's mostly vegetable juices.
Why do I want to stay away from fruit juice?
Too much sugar. Too much sugar.
And what comes back to what you said in the first one, it's all going to come down to insulin.
Right, it's all going to come down to insulin. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you're eating a piece of fruit, you're getting a lot of other stuff. You're getting what we call fiber and all those sorts of things, which will decrease the absorption rate of the sugar that's in the fruit. But when you've done a juice, you removed all that fiber and you're just drinking the sugar, you're going to absorb it quickly and it's going to go up. And one thing real quickly about glycemic load and glycemic index. Glycemic index is how high your sugar goes, but it's usually quick. So I eat a piece of chocolate or I eat a grape, it goes up and down. But I eat a potato and it might not go as high, but it'll be for maybe an hour. So the glycemic load versus the glycemic index. Okay, so you got to realize that pasta, bread, potato, cake, rice, they're all sugar. So anyway, the juicing is just changing the water in the aquarium. So you're going to drink 3 liters a day. You're not going to eat, and you can do this for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, even 8 weeks. You can keep going as long as you feel good. You'll have lots of energy because remember, in 1 liter of juice, you're getting more nutrition because it's a whole armful of vegetables than the average person gets in a month, right? Wow. So that's cleansing with juicing.
The cleansing, okay. I'm putting in all of these healthy vegetables now. I'm decreasing my fruit. What about if I want to take that one step further and really start to change what's happening on a cellular level?
Yeah.
Where does the fasting come in?
Right. Well, that's where it comes in. And it's the one cure handed down to us by God, or people that aren't familiar with God call it nature. But anyway, so nature, it's the one, because why do I say that? Because all animals everywhere, when they're ill, stop eating. They fast. They drink some water and then they fast. They lie down. Okay. That's what nature does. That's what nature tells through instinct all creatures. Okay. The only ones that don't do that are humans, because we no longer have access to our instincts, because we've learned to be enculturated. So we're good Malaysians, we're good Thais, we're good Chinese, we're good Americans, we're good Canadians, we're good Germans, we're good Russians, but we're not earthlings. We're no longer have access to our instincts, so we really don't know what to do. But when you're ill, you stop eating. Now, in fact, if we look at nature, no animal eats every day. They might eat for 1 or 2 days because there's food available, and then there's no food for maybe a week, 3 or 4 days. So that is truly intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is not eating once or twice a day, which we call it. Okay? You have to not eat for 24 hours to call it a fast. Okay? But if you eat once a day, that's just healthy eating. You eat twice a day, that's healthy eating. 3 times a day, that's unhealthy eating. Okay, but it's not intermittent fasting. I mean, is intermittent fasting if I fast between breakfast and lunch, and then I fast between lunch and dinner, and then I fast between dinner and my snack? Am I intermittent fasting? Well, I guess so, but I don't think so. So intermittent fasting, as I would say, is when you perhaps fast every Thursday and Sunday. That's intermittent fasting. Okay. Now, when we don't eat, our body still needs to make energy.
How's it going to do that?
So it needs glucose. Where's it going to get glucose? What it's going to do is go through what we call autophagy or autophagy. Autophagy means self-eating. And what happens is inside the cell, we have a system of cell of organelles called lysozymes. And they eat up all the old mitochondria, which are the cells that make parts of the cell that make energy. They eat up any bacteria, any viruses. They eat up any metabolic waste. They eat it all up. Why? Because they're recycling it for energy. They're turning it back into glucose so they can use it for energy. That's why when you go to sleep at night, and thank God you finally stop eating, you go to sleep at night and you're not eating, what your body does is it, through autophagy, eats up all the worn out mitochondria that were not very efficient at producing energy. And in the morning, you have all brand new mitochondria, so you jump out of bed. You crawl in to bed exhausted, you eat up those mitochondria, you have new mitochondria, and you jump out of bed through autophagy. Well, if you want to extend, and you do that for 24 hours, 36 hours, 168 hours, which is a week, the longer you keep doing it, the more your body will cleanse. And what happens is this: the body goes on a scavenging hunt, and it's looking for all of the non-viable tissue. So every cyst, every tumor, every plaque that's in your artery, that's blocking your arteries, is now being recycled for nutrient, for energy. Okay, and that recycling. So in other words, when you fast, your body is like a self-cleaning oven. It gets rid of all the non-viable, unnecessary tissue. So at the end of a fast, you've cleaned house. And you could not have done that. There are no drugs. There is nothing else that will do that except not eating. But of course, the dry fasting that people do, especially Muslims that do that, you can only do that for a short period because it's not healthy. Because the reason it's not healthy is because all physiological processes require water. So, because our body is 70% water. Right. So when you stop eating and drinking, all the metabolism actually grinds to a halt. It stops. You need to keep flooding it. So a good healthy fast is to drink water 2-3 liters a day. And the biggest problem with fasting is that most people do not drink enough water. Okay, so what I'm saying is you got to drink a lot of water, 2 to 3 liters a day, and you won't feel sick. But anyway, it's how our body cleans, and it's how. So what's our body? Our brain, our immune system, our digestive system. So you know, for example, you had a sprained ankle. You want your ankle to be healthy? Get off it, elevate it, rest it. How do you get your GI tract healthy? Rest it. How do you rest your GI tract? You stop eating. So your GI tract will heal so that when you resume eating, now you'll have a much more efficient ability to digest and assimilate.
So with the fasting, then we're getting rid of the cessant cells. We're cleaning out. We're boosting. We're letting our energy go towards our immune system to heal that. Also, a lot of research shows we're going to increase our GH, growth hormone. So what does that mean? I'm a guy. It's going to mean I'm going to have more muscle. It's going to help me, lose fat. I'll be honest with you. You're giving me the health benefits. Okay, that's great, but how's it going to make me look? Well, listen, it's going to boost my GH. Okay, you sold me on that. Number two, we're going to start releasing BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. What does that mean? My brain is going to be more efficient. So you're telling me by not eating, wait a sec. I was told when I was going to school, the brain needs glucose. No, it doesn't need glucose. We can find other sources of fuel, ketones. But it's going to help. It's with those ketones that we're going to get that brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
Exactly.
But number three, too, what is it going to do for our insulin and glucose homeostasis? If that's the root cause of all metabolic dysfunctions, how can fasting help me with that?
Right, and exactly, and that really will segue right into how do you break a fast. Okay. So now what is insulin for? Insulin's job is to put glucose into the cells. Okay, you got glucose. You just eat something, you swallow it, it gets absorbed into your blood. You eat something sweet, your glucose goes up. Your pancreas makes insulin to bring that out of the cells. It does that. So what I always check with patients is their fasting insulin level, because I want to know how much insulin they're producing when they're not eating, right? When they fasted for at least 8 hours, so I can see what their basal insulin requirements are. And if it's high, then I know they're in trouble. Okay, they have a high fasting insulin. Because remember, now why? Let me just give you an example. Insulin and glucose underlie heart disease. Insulin and glucose underlie liver disease, fatty liver. Insulin and glucose underlie hardening of the arteries. Insulin and glucose underlie senility and brain problems. They underlie specifically cancer. And we know that cancer cells have more insulin receptors. So the more insulin I have, the more I'm feeding that cancer. Okay, so there's all these reasons. So I've got to bring down that my fasting insulin. And in other words, I've got to why is the insulin high? Because your cells are insulin resistant. Why are they insulin resistant? Because they're smarter than us, and they know that the glucose will kill them. So they say no more glucose. So that's why we're insulin resistant. So we want to make our cells insulin sensitive. So just a little bit of insulin makes them work. Okay, so you want to have a fasting insulin of less than 3, or maybe 2 or 1. That is what you do. So not eating is how that you bring it down. So when you break a fast, so of course, not eating, your insulin levels will down, which is perfect. Now, when you break the fast, you want to go into develop a habit where you don't eat your last meal and your first meal the next day. There's a minimum of 18 hours between it. And that's easy if you're sleeping 8 of those hours and you stop eating 3 to 4 hours before you go to sleep. That means you only have a couple hours after you wake up that you have to stop eating. So you stop eating at 6 p.m., you just start eating at noon and you can have a couple of good meals. Anyway, by doing that, by having that long period of not eating, your insulin levels will stay low.
So the guideline then, 18 hours. So if I'm eating it, this is how I'm going to do my fast. I'm going to eat 6 p.m. tonight.
Finish.
And finish. What did you say, 3 to 4 hours before I go to sleep?
Right. If you're 30 and under, it's 3 hours. 40 and under, 40, it's 4 hours. 50 and above, it's 5 hours before sleep. Right? And remember, you want to go to bed at the maximum 2 hours after sunset. 1 hour is best. Okay, for the best, and that's another whole discussion, sleep. But anyway, so in order to get the maximum benefit of sleep, which includes autophagy, you have to go to sleep. You stop eating before sleep.
Stop. Okay. 6 p.m. I eat again the next day at 12. There's my 18. There's my 18 hours. That's very easy. Making sure 4 hours. I'm 49. 4 hours before bed. Correct.
Yep.
Okay. I just want to bring in one thing too that we could do a whole discussion on this in melatonin and sunlight. But I would recommend too, when you go out in the middle of the day for your earthing, no sunglasses. Let's let the sunlight come through our eyes to stimulate the melatonin rhythms later on at night.
Yeah. We need that sunlight. Sunglasses are really dangerous. They're bad. They're not healthy.
And the sun, I mean, we could do a whole nother discussion just on the benefits of the sun, vitamin D, melatonin, serotonin.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that, great. Okay, so once again, to finish session 3, my fasting, 18 hours, I don't eat. I eat my last meal at 6, I eat again next at 12.
Or for you, 5 and 11, if you're going to go to bed at 9, right? At latest.
Yes.
Right? And if I'm going to go to bed at 9 and I'm 60 or 50, then it's 4. I stop eating at 4 and I eat again at 10 a.m. And that's not hard. And then you drink water. Now, one of the things about eating is we love to chew and swallow. So if you can't stop chewing and swallow, get some ice cubes. Chew on those ice cubes while you're watching TV. It's a great snack.
I'm really stressed out, so I like to chew on my nails. Get that
there you
dirt
go.
out.
Just don't swallow.